your teammate. Between us, we can usually drop a 200-foot stick right on the line, just about where we want it to fall, without damage to itself or to the timber round about. Sometimes, when the timber at the butt of the tree isn't good enough for milling, we cut higher up the trunk. The standing boards are notched in firmly. They have to carry the weight of a strong man swinging an axe. Half cut on the falling side, we move round the opposite side and use a saw to drop the tree. Advance party, the rigger and his mate. Their job is to pick out good tall trees to take high leads and skyline cables. The rigger has to lop the top off the tree and rig the pulleys and cables at the peak. He wears his climbing spurs to help him up the mountain ash. 200 feet to the top. 3 hours of climbing, chopping, and sawing. It's a man's work, all right. Once,
trees are felled. The X means that this tree will itself be used in moving other trees as soon as they are brought down and cut into logs. The topper will cut off the top and the tree will be rigged with cables and pulleys. For most people, a job like this would seem too dangerous, but then logging is a hard and dangerous work, and these men take pride in their strength and courage. They are the men who fell the trees and get the logs out of the woods so that we may have lumber, for houses, for furniture, for the 1,000 uses of wood. And all in his day's work, over goes the top of this tree. The job All of the world's history since Christ was born could have occurred during the life of perhaps one of these redwoods. But just as the tree itself is able to live through centuries, to live even through forest fires, so when the axes, the wedges, and the saws bring it down, the lumber will last for many, many years. That is why it is very valuable as lumber. Insects and fungi do not hurt it, and it actually resists fire. So the saws keep working and the axemen bring the tree down, figuring the fall carefully so as not to hit other trees and splinter the wood. When the cutting is finished, the men get away fast from the base of the tree as it falls, for sometimes trees twist or fall in a way not expected. But usually they fall just as the axemen figured, and sometimes the axemen figure very closely, closer than one would imagine. So down they come, some of the world's oldest, biggest, and tallest trees, trees that grow over 350 feet high. trees that may be over 20 feet thick at the base, trees that are so big that more than 20 houses can be made from just one tree. But don't think these giants are being completely destroyed. Many of the oldest and the biggest of the redwoods are being saved. Parks with thousands of acres of redwoods are set aside for our enjoyment. Cut to the lengths wanted by the mills and the carpenters and started on their way to becoming boards useful to mankind.
Lumberjack, giants among men who cut the forest down to size. To conquer the rugged timber country is risky business. Topping one of these soaring timbers is the equivalent of dropping a 50-foot tree past your ear. It sets up a backlash like the crack of a whip, and the lumberman literally hangs on for dear life. Machinery and mass production have made most industries tame, but the only mass production in felling a tree is the massive muscle behind the two-bladed axe or the two-man saw. These woods wits can drop a big trunk a given line as neatly as laying a pencil in a pencil box. A good thing, too, for there's no time for dodging when the woods ring with the old cry, timber! Plays as hard as he works. This shave with an axe is no joke, for every lumberman's axe is actually honed to razor sharpness for the day's work. It's Lumberman's Olympic Day, and every man is ready to raise a few calluses to prove he's the nearest thing to Paul Bunyan, that legendary logger. What does a wood chopper do on his day off? Chop wood, of course. Now for a tournament with teeth in it. The contest seesaws from one man to the next as each man makes fork a hardwood log. The world's record, believe it or not, is 4 4-foot slices on the log in 54 seconds. In the Rolo, the men try to keep the kettle burling, but many a man winds up making a the lumber rumba. An ordinary boat race would never suit these paddle pushers. It's over the river and through the woods, both at the same time. The lumberman also provides a switch on the pole vault. The pole stands still and the lumberman vaults. Next stop, heaven. Once at the top, our hardy friend proves he can still move by sawing through the slender trunk. Next stop, terra firma. And this is not being done by running the camera backwards. If you think those events were strange, just watch the lumberjack's version of target practice. It's pinpoint control of a tool that serves them both in work and play. Watch out, tree. Out of the forests comes a breed of men who work big, play big, live big. Treetop daredevils as great as the great outdoors.